everyone, it's Rina, and today we're going to be creating a mini Keurig inspired coffee treat holder. One of my VIP members, Veronica, actually sent me a picture that she found on Pinterest and asked if I could recreate it, and so that is what I did. I did find the original Pinterest link, and so I will be including that in the comment section, so if you'd like to check out that designer and her version, you definitely can. This is actually video 1 of 3 tutorials for my coffee treat holder series. You will be able to see all 3 projects at the end of this video. I will have some coffee kits available for sale, so if you're interested, please send me an email and I can create a kit that's perfect just for you. The paper that I used in this tutorial and in all 3 of my projects is the Magic Bean paper collection, and it's actually my newest collection, and you can find it in my Etsy shop as well. If you're in my VIP group, I cannot wait to see all of your projects, and if you're not in my VIP group, I'd love for you to join. So let's get to the tutorial. Okay, so this is the project we're making today. It is a mini Keurig inspired treat holder, coffee treat holder, and it fits one of these little 4-inch espresso cups. And the paper that I'm using, or the paper that I used, is my new Magic Bean designer paper, and you can find that in my Etsy shop. The stamp that I used was from My Favorite Things. It's the stamp right here, and it's the Perk Up stamp set. I got this from Jamie's shop, Scrap and Stampers. And I'm doing something a little different this time for my tutorial. In my VIP group and on my blog, you can find the pattern pieces for the mini Keurig coffee treat holder. You have your base pattern pieces, your designer paper pieces. This is actually for the outside, so you have your wrap, and then your designer pieces, which would be this piece, and this piece. And then I also included designer paper pattern pieces for the inside. So that is these inside pieces right here. So the top, the bottom, and the inside. And then you can also use this piece to put on the back if you wanted to add a note, or you could also create a pocket if you wanted to create a pocket. Now, I did create designer pieces to go over. If you don't want to and you want to just use the pattern pieces as your designer paper, you can. Just make sure that you use really strong cardstock, designer paper cardstock, so that it can hold everything well, hold everything together up nicely. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And so what you would do is you would cut out your pattern pieces. And so these are my base pieces right here. They're already cut out, and I decided I wanted to use craft cardstock. And then these are my inside pattern pieces. These are my outside pattern pieces, and then I have my coffee sleeve holder. And you can, there is a little bit extra on here, so that way when you wrap it around, you'll need to cut some of the extra off so that you can fit it on nicely. I prefer to give extra so that you can cut a little off than have it be too small or not enough if you make a little bit of a mistake. So that can go over there. So we're going to go ahead and start with our base pieces. This is going to be the top and the bottom. They're both the same size, so you don't have to worry about measuring. These are going to be your connector pieces, and what you're going to do is you're going to start by scoring these in half. And I did include that on your base pattern piece sheet. It tells you right here that these are your connectors and you need to score them at 1/2 inch. This is going to be your back piece, and you're going to score it at 1/2 inch and 3 1/4. So let's go ahead and do that first. So I'm starting with my connector pieces, and my light almost fell, so sorry. Okay, so we're going to start with our connector pieces, and we're going to score them at 1/2 inch, and score this one at 1/2 inch also. And then you're going to take your back piece, and you're going to score it at 1/2 inch and 3 1/4. So this is going to create the side flaps. Just fold over and then make sure you burnish. This is going to create the side flaps of the back like that. And these will be the pieces that you use to connect everything together. I like using craft cardstock because it's a little thicker. And of course you can cover it all with designer paper if you want, completely up to you how you do it. So these pieces are going to be the bottom underneath your designer paper right here. So you do need to score these two pieces also. The thicker one goes on the top and the skinnier one goes on the bottom. And these pieces you're going to score at 3/4 of an inch on the 7-inch side. So just take your pieces and score them at. And make sure that you hold it really close to the edge of your scoreboard so that you can get a nice straight score, especially on the tinier one. The tinier one you're going to score at 3/4 of an inch also. No, this one you're going to score at 1/2 inch. So sorry, 1/2 inch. So this one you scored at 3/4 of an inch, and this one you scored at 1/2 inch. And then you're just gonna fold it over and burnish it as well. Okay, so now what you need to do is you're going to create little triangles on these two sections right here. And the reason you do that is because when we glue it around this way, you want there to be some flexibility when you glue it. You're also going to adhere score tape on the inside of both of your connector pieces so that you can then connect them like this, and then your bottom piece will connect right here. And I did not get my score tape ready, so give me 1 second and I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and I added my score tape, and I added it on the inside of both of my connector pieces on each side of my score line. And now I'm going to create my little triangles to make this a little more pliable when I glue it around. So what I do is I just start by making little cuts, and if this is the score line right here, so I don't go over the score line, but I just start making little cuts in one direction. And you can make them as close together or as far apart as you want. I try to make them somewhat even across. If you make them too wide, like if I did one like a huge space in between, then that's not going to give me a lot of room to glue this around the top to make it that to have that curve that I want. And then what I do is I just go back the other way and I cut off the triangle just like that. So basically what you're doing is you're creating little teeth. So you're going to do that on this one, and you're going to do it on this one also. Now this one is a lot thinner, so just make sure that you're really careful and you don't go over your line. So you're going to do that. And then what you're going to do is we're going to assemble our mini Keurig base together. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut our little teeth out, and then we'll come back and assemble everything together. Okay, so now we're going to put everything together. We're going to start with our connector pieces. Now I know I mentioned that I put mine on the inside, but really I want to fold them to the outside like this, because how I connect them is going to be like this and like this, because I want my connector pieces to be on the inside and not the outside, so that they're hidden by paper and they don't show. So I'm going to start by taking off score tape on the back of one side, and I'm going to go ahead and just line it up. And I'm going to make sure to stay in between these score lines from my base piece. But I'm going to go right to the top. Just go all the way across. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this bottom piece. just go all the way across. Now, if a little bit of your connector piece went over your score line, just take your scissors and just trim that little piece off. And this is where you can cut those pieces like that, cut them at an angle if you wanted to make sure that you didn't go over. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to attach these top pieces. Now, if you wanted to attach your designer paper right here in the center now, you definitely could do that, and actually that's what I'm going to do because it's a little easier to attach it in the center, or center it on the inside before you put everything together, because this piece is a little harder to attach. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach these pieces like this, again, so that my connectors are hidden. And if you want to trim them like this, so that way they you don't have to worry about any of your edges peering out, you can definitely do that. Don't add your designer paper here though, because you're going to attach this like this, and then your designer paper will be covered by your connector. So wait to add your designer paper. But go ahead and attach these pieces. So all you're going to do, the easiest way for me is like this, to fold it on the inside and connect it like that. But you do however is easiest for you. If it's easier for you to go like this, that's completely fine. Whatever works best for you is the way you should do it. So then I'm just going to take this piece off and connect it like that. Okay, so now I have all of my base almost done. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, and don't add your designer paper yet, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our bottom piece and our top piece. And basically how it's going to go glued like this, and these pieces are going to glue to the side. And I did create it so that you have a little extra that'll come off on the side. So you can do this one of two ways. You can glue this to the outside, or you can glue it to the inside, whatever is easiest for you. And then your little teeth, you're going to glue them to the inside bottom right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And I did include designer paper to cover this outside piece, so if you glue it to the outside, it's not a big deal, and I actually prefer to glue it to the outside. I have seen some people, when they've used these little connector type things, that they have used hot glue. If you want to use hot glue, completely up to you. I'm not as quick with hot glue. It takes me just a little bit longer, and I end up burning myself, so I don't normally like to use hot glue on these pieces. Sorry, my glue was stuck. So I'm just going to take a little bit of glue right there, and I'm going to glue this to the outside, and I'm going to line up the end with where my little teeth start, so that way it's nice and aligned when I glue my teeth around. And you know what I did? I did this wrong. This is actually for the bottom. This actually is the bottom piece. The thicker piece goes on the top, and the thinner piece goes on the bottom. So let's try that again. And I do use Scotch Quick Dry, and it does dry clear. Thank goodness, because otherwise I might have white marks everywhere. But luckily, again, I did use designer paper. So if you're not using designer paper, make sure that you use clear glue, so that way the white doesn't show. So now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to start putting glue on the teeth right here, on each one. And then I'm going to start adhering them right here to this piece, this bottom piece right here. And I like to go like this on the inside also, and see where my pieces are and kind of mold it to make sure I'm getting it lined up as best as I possibly can. And doing this the first time can be a little frustrating, so just try to do one at a time or two at a time, whatever's easiest for you. And eventually it gets easier and easier when you, but this is a great way to curve your cardstock or curve your base pieces when you're making something that's not a square shape, is by adding those little teeth kind of grooves. And you just keep going all the way around until you're done. See? And then I just go in and I tap it from the inside. So go ahead and add your bottom piece and add your top piece, and then we'll add the designer paper. Okay, so I wanted to show you before I added the top piece that you can see right here I added extra. So all I do is stick in that last piece, and then I just take my scissors and I just chop that piece right off. And so then I'm just going to finish adding glue and close that up. But again, I'd prefer to give you a little bit of extra just in case, so that way you have enough versus too little. So go ahead and finish adding your bottom, add your top, and then we'll finish decorating. Okay, so I have both my bottom piece and my top piece glued together. I do see right here that I probably should add just a tiny bit more glue, so I will do that. But now all you have to do is go ahead and add your designer paper on the inside. So I would take my designer paper piece, I actually already added adhesive, and just kind of line it up on the inside, and that'll cover those little teeth. Do the same thing with this side. So that way those little teeth are all covered. And then you could add your top piece right here, and then you would take these pieces and you would, now I used glue, the quick dry adhesive. I didn't use my adhesive, my Scotch ATG. I actually used glue, and I just added glue here and glued all the way around like this. And this is a little tiny bit longer just because I really wanted it to cover that base piece, and a little tiny bit longer here. So you'll just have to cut that piece off, and then you'll adhere your bottom piece like this also, and then you're pretty much done. As far as the cup itself, this is the 4-inch espresso cup. I just took my sleeve and again I added glue, the quick dry glue, and I glued it all the way around just like this, and then I cut that little piece off. And there's a tiny little extra piece on the bottom. You can leave it if you want. It's completely up to you. I did trim mine down so that it would be closer to the cup. It's just a tiny, tiny little bit. But whatever works best for you. And then I just added it inside my little mini Keurig and decorated it. And that's it. That's how you make your mini Keurig. I would love to see your projects if you're in my VIP group. I definitely want to see your mini Keurigs if you make them. I will have some coffee kits available. This is actually video 1 of 3. So first we had our mini Keurig. The next video I'm going to have is this boxed coffee. So you have your little mini coffee cup holder in this little box, and I added a little stamp there. This one I made with my envelope punch board. And then the last one I have is what I'm calling your traveler coffee. So you have your little coffee cup on the inside, and it's just basically like a little traveler, and it has a little punch right there. So video 1 of 3. So this is the first one. This will be the second video. This will be the third video. If you do want a coffee kit, please email me and I can let you know. I can actually create something custom for you if you only want the Keurig, if you want all 3, completely up to you. And it will come with the 4-inch espresso cups as well. Okay, Thanks for stopping by.